freedoms are being taken. It is time for history to repeat itself and stand. Black Robe Patriots. Your host, Dr. Cindy Flowers and Pastor Ladina Boo.
Good morning. It's Pastor Ladina from Stockton, Missouri. And the last name is pronounced Boo, not Bow. And then there's the lovely Dr. Cindy Flowers.
Good morning from cold, overcast Michigan.
Yeah, it's a little cold here too. You know, it's the temperature is dropping, but we'll get back up into hot next week.
Oh, I don't even want to hear it because that ain't happening for us.
Yeah, well, our weather is hormonal, so it's it's like menopause around here when it comes to the weather. One day it's really really cold, and the next day it's 900 degrees. So you know, you never know what's going to happen and going on.
Michigan is the same exact way. She can't make up her mind. What is it today? And sometimes it's warmer, and then so everybody's walking around in summer shirts or flannel shirts or sweatshirt, pair of shorts, and Uggs. So it's like, well, you kind of know. All right, so what are we doing here?
Okay, Matt's over there fixing the machines before he takes off. So anyway, today we're going to talk about the 10th Amendment, and that's where we come into the separation of the states as opposed to the federal government. And the original text there says, the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. Now, that's where we ended up, you know, it's supposed to be the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And you know, we are losing that horribly in our country.
Absolutely. It's like, wait a minute. Say that again? Because this is what they're taking away. They're like, oh, well, you don't get, and even the states are taking away from the people.
Right. You know,
Like some states are.
you know, a lot of states are taking away from the people in their little section of what's supposed to be going on in our country. But you know, with the federal government, the 10th Amendment, it was really silent for a long time. You know, nobody paid attention to the Fifth Amendment, and that's how we ended up with all executive orders, and we ended up with all the you know, after the New Deal. We ended up with the Social Security Administration. We ended up with all these other little organizations that make their own rules. And so, you know, they're taking us so far away from what the founding fathers set up in this nation.
Exactly, yes. Department of Education. That was never supposed to be there.
No, and that's a nightmare
Well,
for our children right now. You know, whenever the
yes,
feds are
it
telling
is.
us what we have to teach it our children, you know, and it used to be that you would teach according to what was applicable to where you lived, in what state you lived in, and you know, they taught the Constitution, and they told people, you know, it's the people are in charge. Are, you know, it should be of the people, for the people, and by the people. And we are not
Exactly.
getting that option any longer.
No, we're
You
not.
know,
And then that's where people don't understand when they had a huge meltdown about the Roe v. Wade. Roe v. Wade, it was removed. It ended at the federal level, at the government level, and they threw it onto the states. So the states,
yeah,
but everybody was. I don't think that they even understood. This is why you need to understand your rights. constitutional rights because you were making idiots out of yourselves, complaining, oh, everything's gone. No, it's now on each individual state, but they decide. The government wants nothing to do with deciding that anymore. They're done. They're not doing it.
Right. And
So,
Roe v. Wade was a big one. In 1995, United States versus Alfonso D. Lopez Jr., it determined that federal laws that establish gun-free zones on public school campuses were unconstitutional, as there's no segment of the Constitution that authorized it. So the ruling limited the federal government's authority to enact policies through the Commerce Clause. And so the 10th Amendment, this is a capstone to the Bill of Rights, and it was drafted out of this crazy process of ratifying the Constitution, and its protections have been used to expand and contract the authority of the federal government, and has been part of the core debate between federal and state powers in the centuries since it was ratified. The federal government is the one that initially said our schools were a gun-free zone.
yeah,
And then all of a sudden they want to complain because people are coming on school campuses and shooting people right and left, shooting small children. How many times have we heard that on the news? And it comes down to a gun-free zone. Only bad people are going to have a gun, whenever you do that.
exactly.
And, you got to have the
Exactly.
good guys. If you don't have any good
Exactly.
guys in the school, what's going to happen?
No, no. As I always say, gun-free zones are kill zones because when you take away the guns from the people to be able to defend themselves, it's it's open season for all the criminals. They're not going to stop and go, "Oh wait, we can't put that gun away. Why? Because this is a gun-free zone. Put the gun away. We can't use it." Whoever thought that? Who was it? Who was it? Was it Feinstein or was it Elizabeth Warren that actually said that came? These words come out her mouth that the criminals that are holding the guns were actually going to know. Oh, it's a gun-free zone, so we can't use the guns here. And I thought,
Fine.
is
Yep.
she high?
Yeah, some strange things have come out of, God rest her soul, she has died. But yes, Feinstein had some really crazy ideas when it came to guns. And, we've got to remember our Constitution and the Second Amendment allowed us to have those guns. And so, her gun free
Hmm.
zones are only going to bring in bad people with guns.
Yes, exactly. And if you take notice, if you watch like the America's history, we did not begin to implement people until we got our guns back because they didn't let us have any unless you were
Right.
like a farmer or something. But once we armored up and we started to shoot back at the English, then that's when they were like, whoa. And that's where you got to see this is how America was won. It wasn't won with, you know, oh, can we sit at the table and talk? No, it was not won
No,
that way, unfortunately. Mhm.
yeah, and, and the president, the King of England was not going to come over here and sit down and talk to him. Okay, the King of
No.
England, it was, sitting over there doing what he wanted, demanding things from people, and he didn't have the right to do so, and so, fine, we fought our American Revolution, we set up our government, we set the Bill of Rights. And a lot of the states had ratified the Constitution um, with the impression that the Bill of Rights would quickly be added to it after the fact. And so we're looking at a federalist argument here, and that says that the federal government is limited, And so what have they done? They've made all these little subgroups, the ATF, the FBI, the CIA, the Department of Education, the Social Security Administration, and all these things that they're stripping us of our rights, but they're doing it through different clauses in the Constitution and allowing these various organizations to say what we can and cannot do.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
It's disturbing.
Yeah, it
you
is.
know,
It's and oh, it's a huge overreach, and it's
mhm.
like now. I mean, I had to just roll my eyes when I heard, well, we're going to get an oversight committee to look over the oversight committee, and it's like, wait, what? So you're going to another group of people to watch over the group of people that are to watch over the group of people, and I'm like, you remind me of you remember those wooden the little wooden doll thing where you open up the big mama doll and there's the wooden doll inside, and then you open her up, and then there's another
Yeah,
little one, and then you open
yeah,
her
the
up.
nesting
That's what it's
dolls.
like.
Yeah,
It's like it
you
just
know,
keeps going. This one's over to this one, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. You know,
you know,
uh,
uh, we've had such an erosion of our civil liberties, especially since 9/11. And after that, they put in the Patriot Act, and it was sold to the public as the best option to keep them safe. Unfortunately, the Patriot Act, which has now left, there's a different act in place right at the moment. It led to mass surveillance and increased surveillance powers and enhanced information sharing between agencies. So, they were claimed they were looking for terrorists and so forth. But the thing is, we get caught up in that too. They're going to listen in on our phone calls. They're going to do what they want to do. And, this is going to lead us to something like communist China, where they have social justice scores. And in communist China, if you're caught reading a Bible or something, well, then your social score goes way, 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 way down. And, then we see what happens with that, because you can see videos on where they're taking perfectly healthy people into an operating room and removing their organs to give them to somebody else. Are we going to see that in our nation if we don't stand up for our rights?
exactly, exactly. That is something that goes amiss with
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the traffickers. I mean, when women get trafficked, if they kill them off, trying to escape, or they just, they end up getting sick or something like that. Um, they end up taking their organs,
Mm-hmm.
and they sell them to these doctors, and the doctors pay huge money. So not are they only trafficking the women for labor, for in sexual, in the sexual sense, but they're also taking their organs, and then making money off of them. So it's like, my gosh, but see, they don't people don't even realize the backdoor stuff that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is, we have let them do it. We have let them do it.
Yeah, and
You know,
with the Patriot Act, we get to the point where we cannot be free whenever we have a vast number of shadowy intelligence agencies uh, constantly watching us. Where's our Fifth Amendment right against self incrimination whenever somebody's listening in on all your phone calls and so forth and making recordings of them, and then they can turn around and use that against you? Well, they didn't have a right to do that. Nobody
oh
gave
no,
them a
they don't.
warrant. You know,
They don't. But and that's Rand Paul was really big on that through this whole thing that was discovered by Eric Snowden. And Eric Snowden now has citizenship finally in Russia, but he's not allowed to come back here because they'll kill him or they'll
Mm-hmm.
keep him they'll imprison him. Why? Because he was the one that discovered way back then, hey, they're watching you through your computer. Hey, they're listening in on your stuff. Rand Paul had argued with them and went head to head with them with the NSA, saying, you know what? You're not allowed to do that. Okay,
Right.
that is made. You have to get a warrant in order to listen, to have the right to listen to someone's phone conversations. You have to have a warrant to come into someone's home. You just can't help yourself and listen. That's why they say in court, and you should know because you worked in for a law firm for so long. You can record someone. Go, I taped them, but if they don't know that you recorded them, you can't use it as evidence.
That's
Or
that's really a state thing too, because in Missouri, if one person is recording, then it's admissible. If you record a phone call that somebody calls into you, a lot of states don't have that right. You have to tell the person, I'm recording this conversation. And so, that's the other thing where you need to understand your state laws as well as the federal laws. Cindy and I are focusing on the Constitution, and that's a federal situation. And so, we're watching our rights go away dramatically. Freedom of speech. We have no freedom of speech in this country anymore. If you say something and somebody gets their feelers hurt, then you're in trouble. And our freedom of speech is challenged by online censorship. The social media companies are under a lot of pressure to censor posts that the current government deems inappropriate. Our government cannot decide what is inappropriate for us to say. That's just walking on our freedom of speech all the way down the line. Um,
exactly,
as
exactly.
you know, if a lot of people, they don't want to run into issues with their, maybe a podcast or something like that, because freedom of speech comes into play, and all of a sudden it's gone. I ran through that with my show Trials and Triumphs. Um, YouTube, who is under the World Health Organization and follows their rules and so forth, purged all my shows on transgenderism. I have no shows left on YouTube. I have to go to different other social media sites in order to get there. And that was because I was talking to a detransitioner. You know,
They don't want. They don't. I've seen some of the argument, and they will. Some people in in the community, and that's how I'm going to say the community. They will attack detransitioners. Attack them. Why would you attack them? You're supposed to be, understanding. When don't realize that maybe that was something they really didn't want to do, but their thing is now is they're blaming us or the counselors or other people saying you're the reason these people want to transition, and these detransitioners are saying no, I didn't know it was going to turn out like this. They didn't explain any of this to me. And no, I didn't sign up to be ill for the rest of my life.
right.
They didn't tell them that either.
And then
So,
they
uh,
muzzle our press these days too. The press is not supposed to say certain things, and you watch the press conferences out of the White House, and they refuse to talk to certain people because they don't like what they write. They won't even. One guy was complaining the other day. They had not accepted a question from him in over 4 months just because of where he worked.
Yeah. Yeah, because you know that they're hiding something. They don't want to, and either that or they don't have an answer. They don't have an answer for you, or they don't want to answer. And you know what? That is unacceptable. That is
Mhm.
unacceptable. They're doing everything to cover and hide. And as an American citizen, you have the right, you have the right to have those questions answered and not be
Mhm.
lied to, or have it shift. Oh, have this person go and talk to them. Have this person go and talk to them. No, we want to talk to you. We want to talk to you and we want to hear answers from you. And you know what? When you go, oh, well, you don't have any right to say that to the president and stuff. Oh, yes, we do. That house he's living in, that he's locked up and prevented the people from being able to tour it like it's been done for decades, has it locked up. No one's allowed to come near it, and they forget their place. They forget that they work for us. They work for you. They
Yeah,
don't work for themselves. As you
they've
can see, as
turned
we've
us into
talked about,
a dictatorship. We're working on a
yeah,
dictatorship here really quickly. Um, and
exactly, exactly.
you
You
know,
should
and like,
have. Oh, I'm sorry. We're both. I was
go
just
ahead.
going to say. I was just going to say that when you, as an American citizen, you should not be content with this. When you see that Congress has the creme de la creme of healthcare, and then they look to you and go, "Well, you can have this or this," and it's like, no, we want what you have because you are not supposed to have anything better than we do. You're just representing us. That does not mean you get better of everything that we do. You should not be allowed to live in a multi-million dollar mansion when
Oh,
you're
two or
just
three
working
of
for Congress,
them. Yeah,
and
when you got two mansions,
we
there's a
get,
problem.
yeah, it's the scales are very uneven with this. They have all these luxuries and they look down at us and it's like, hold on a minute. It's called the House of Representatives. You just represent us, but you're living like you look down on us and you will decide how things are going to be. You're not supposed to decide that. You're supposed to come to us and say, hey, what do you think about this law? What do you guys think? I'm representing you. What do you want? But they don't
Yeah,
do it. They go, well, I think this. But they don't have a care for nothing. When stuff happens, well, we're running out of food, not for their refrigerators, not
no,
on their end of the scale, and that's
that's one of the
wrong.
reasons. Yeah, that's one of the reasons that part of the time we put in a little prepper thing. We want to do it more frequently, but we had some uh, busy things come up in our life. And so, our prepper thing is coming back. We'll get through the rest of the list of things that you should have. But, the middle class in this country is disappearing. The representatives and everybody, they're making over $100,000 a year. And, they've caught some on insider trading so that they can get more money. And, they're not caring about the fact that we've got issues. We need things and we're not being able to get them. And, we're going to get to the point where, they're going to try to force us to eat lab grown meat or bugs or, they put vaccines in some of the vegetables and stuff. And then they wonder why we have all these superbugs. Okay, you've been vaccinating people for years without their knowledge. And now you can't understand why part of these bugs are vaccine resistant. you know, you've given them a steady
Yeah,
diet of vaccine.
yeah, exactly, exactly. I can remember when you wouldn't be allowed. That I got sent home from school until I got that a vaccine that I didn't have yet, and I had to show my vaccine card. And I'm like, oh, well, they're not letting me back in school. So I thought it was pretty cool thing. It was like, I get to go home because I don't have a vaccine, you know. And then, that didn't last very long. But um, yeah, and see, that's the thing. We to know your constitutional rights, because you know what? It's we are no longer on a level playing field here. They
No.
they have made themselves like a monarchy where they're way up on this, you know, way up here in a castle, and then we are the peasants.
Yeah, and
No, America has no king.
we have no king, and all those people in Congress need to be saying what we want them to say. I know personally, I make it a point whenever I get a petition about certain issues that I'm concerned with, then I have no qualms about sending an email to my representatives and so forth and tell them I don't want this for this particular reason. And you need to become active in what's going on in your government. And like I said, right now we're losing our middle class. So the government is now using this poverty place where we're at as a weapon, because it's really difficult to convince a population that relies on the social assistance that the government provides to either vote along a party line or to support initiatives that claim to benefit people experiencing poverty. But it only serves to increase the tax burden on the middle class, which is going away. We've got to
Mhm.
figure out what they're spending our money on and why. Then we can get back over here, rights that they took away from us. Let's go to COVID-19. COVID-19, all of a
Uh,
sudden the federal government says you have to stay in your house unless you're some worker. If you're a nurse or something, you have to go to work. Well, then they tried to say you have to take this vaccine, and or you can't have a job. And they refused, in a lot of cases, to acknowledge a person's religion. Maybe the religion was against that kind of thing, but they didn't accept those particular comment and that understanding, even though freedom of religion is in our First Amendment. So they violated the rights of all those who turned in a letter saying this violates my religious preferences and so forth, and they fired them anyway.
yeah, no
COVID,
religious exemption. No,
yeah.
and that see, and you know what? Just and I think we discussed this before. And Pelosi, yeah, I said her name. She's huge for it. You remember how much she lobbied and fought to push that Obamacare? And then as soon as she did, talking about how great it is, how wonderful it is, you keep your doctor, everything's wonderful. And then they said, well, when do are you excited to get on Obamacare? When do you guys go? Oh, we're exempt. We don't have to have it. Where do we? And it's
Right.
like, oh, we have to have it, but you don't have to have it. And then the whole thing about people threatening people to lose their jobs, um, or you can't go here, you can't travel here, you can't go in here, you're going to be fired from your job. You have to have this vaccine. And then when you ask Congress and say, okay, they go, oh, well, Congress is exempt from getting the vaccine. And it's like, there you go again. You see what you're doing? See what you're doing? See what they're doing? They know, and they don't feel that they should have to take part in anything that the American people do. Don't you think it is strange how much they are dumbing down
Mm-hmm.
up and coming generations, so that they don't know how to read and write? They think, oh, and then do you know, understand, I know I've said this before, that's not a good thing. They are telling you you are not smart enough to learn. They are insulting your intelligence. They are
Mm-hmm.
keeping you from reaching your potential. They don't want you to understand and be able to read what kind of laws they're trying to do. They want you can completely trust them just by the words that come out their mouth, and you cannot. And don't you dare think it's a good thing when a school teacher will not teach you how to read, will not teach you how to write, will not teach you how to do math, will not teach you how to do social studies and history, proper history, not the way that they want to teach it, but real history. You demand it. It is your right. Do not let them dumb you down, because this is the kind of thing that they want to be able to pass, because you don't know. Don't know. You don't know
Yeah,
what
and
they're doing. You don't know. You can't read.
you need to figure out what they're teaching in your school too, because a lot of the course material in our schools today were written by communist China. They inserted
That's
their
horrible.
stuff in there because they do the books. And so a lot of those course materials bring in all these socialist Marxist ideas because, our states cannot decide what to teach our children. The Department of Education is stepping all over people. We've turned into a country that is being operated by various administrative agencies that we cannot control. And executive orders, they're not laws, okay? Those are executive orders signed by a president who can't walk across the stage, okay? I'm sorry if you're a Biden supporter. I think he's destroying our nation. And then when we get back to Obamacare, we wonder about this mass explosion of people wanting to change their gender. It was Obamacare that told the various insurance agencies and so forth that they had to pay for these transgender surgeries. That was not something that was originally covered in insurance policies and so forth. That was the federal government saying you had to have this in your insurance policy for it to pass muster for what Obama wanted us to have. Well, if you make it really easy for somebody that's confused and, you know, needs mental health healing and or religious healing, you need to get them to God so that they can help understand what's going on in their life. But Obamacare is the one that really put a real push on people wanting to change their gender.
Yeah. 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 And that's the thing that people don't understand. Do you realize? Okay, you can start it with a young kid. They understand quick. You give them, you give your child, you give your child $20 and be like, I'm rich, I got $20. Give it to them in singles, and then go, oh yeah, I'm gonna need 3 or 4 of that. And it's like, why? That's my money. And you go, oh well, I gotta take this because this has got to go for this tax. Well, what are you taking care of with that? Oh, this goes to this and this. Oh, and I'm gonna need to take a couple more dollars. Where does that go for? Oh, this goes for you paying for other people's, medical.
Right.
Well, I
You
know
know,
they're going to pay for their medical. And then you pull out some more money and go, well, wait, why are you taking any more money? Oh, this is going to Ukraine to pay for their war. And well, look at
this
all I
amendment.
got left.
Yeah,
you know?
the 10th Amendment was put there to, reserve those rights for the individual states and reserve rights for the people of the United States. And so, you've got to keep track of that. Um, you know, as far as the social score in China, um, it's kind of like the credit rating you get in the United States, only more involved. Our credit scores rule our lives these days, and if your credit score is not high enough then you can't borrow money or anything of that nature. That was one of the things that Jim Whining posted with regard to our show today. And,
Yeah.
we've got to figure out what we can and cannot do and what our government can and cannot do. Because right now they're putting us under their thumb. And you do this or you can't get a small business loan. If you don't do something else, well, then, you're not going to get the money to put in a new internet service for your business or something like that. They are directing what you can and cannot do, and they don't have that
Yeah.
power. We didn't give them that power in the Constitution.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. That's and another trick that they like to do that you have to be careful about is, and they always make it look good on the outside, right? So when we're in need of a bill to be passed, and you will see like half of the Senate, they won't vote for it. You're thinking, yeah, those idiots didn't pass this bill. We need this bill, and it's like, no, no, no. Hold on a second. The Democrats are notorious, and the rhinos are notorious for sneaking in things in between the lines, sneaking stuff in there that doesn't belong in there. That once you pass it, then they're going to be able to get all this other stuff out of it. So, see, this is why, and especially Ron Paul and Rand Paul are known for it. They read those bills for us. That's what a senator does. That's what a representative does. They read those bills with a fine tooth comb for us, and they go, okay, they're using this, that what we need. They're using this on the outside, but on the inside of this bill, what are they actually putting in? So you have to remember, don't get mad if they don't pass a bill. What you want to do is find out, okay, what did they put in it that's either going to take more money from us and give another country more money, or it's going to give them a raise or something. So you want to make sure, okay, they didn't pass it. There must be something inside that is in there that they don't want to pass. Take that out and they'll pass it. Be mindful of that, because I see so many people get mad because they won't pass a certain bill. Just be sure to check it out and
Yeah.
find out what's in that bill. Be
Well,
smart about it.
we see that right now where they're trying to get a budget for the government in there. Okay. And then just because we need a budget for various things in our government, they sneak in funding for Ukraine and things like that. Okay. There is no reason for us to be paying for the war in the Ukraine. You know,
Nope.
they've got more than enough support from the United States. They've gone to the point where they've pretty much taken on our entire defense budget, and it's going to another country. How are we going to protect ourselves? Because we're going to be attacked from within. We've got communist China people wandering around our electric plants and things like that, posing as, you know, just visitors. They're just on vacation and so forth. I'm not buying that. I think they're coming in and trying to figure out how they can take the United States down. And, this 10th Amendment was put there by our founding fathers so that we could, I don't know, rattle the cage of the people who are representing us and saying, no, you can't. The problem is that we've been sitting back and letting them do it. And so we need to stand up for our rights. We need to get back to the original Constitution. We have to stop all
Yeah.
these little administrative agencies that spy
Yeah.
on us or tell us what we can and cannot do. The Department of Education should be abolished completely. Take the education back to the states. you know but then if you're under the Department of Education and you receive federal funds from the government in order for your school district and so forth, they dictate what you can and cannot do. They will say you
Amen. That's
have to
right.
teach sex education to first graders with full frontal nudity in their books, and
No.
something that goes totally against biblical principles of marriage and so forth. They're putting in a lot of stuff.
No.
Now, I've got
Amen.
gay friends, and they've gotten to the point where they can get married and so forth. So more power to them. But they know my stance because I come back with the biblical response, and they love me anyway. Okay, they know my stance on things because I do try to live my life by the Bible. But we have got to figure out what our rights are and how we can get them back and retain them. Because right now, Congress is doing what Congress wants to do, and they don't care what we have to say. And this
Exactly.
particular amendment,
Exactly.
yeah,
Amen. That's exactly right. You are spot on. Exactly right. And also understand an executive order is not a law. It's not
no,
a law. So if you don't obey that executive order, you're not going to get arrested because it's not a law. Secondly, we don't do mandates in America. Mandates are for kings, are for kingdoms, like you would see over like in London, in England. If somebody says, well, we have a mandate, and it's like mandates are not a law. They're not laws. You don't have to obey mandates either. We got a mandate. It's like, this is America, Jack. We don't have a king. We don't have any of that. You're not an authoritarian. I plead with people. Please do not. Please step away from your phone and
right.
get back into your books. Start reading and studying your history, not what the Board of Education wants to give you, but you go to the libraries and go even look up in the Library of Congress where you're going to get actual history, real
Right.
history of and everything for this country, not one that's been edited or redone because they don't like what's in it.
Yeah,
You
it's
can't.
like the new history books these days. We know what 9/11 was. We were here. We saw it happen,
Yeah,
and we know where it came from and everything. But the new history books will tell you that we caused 9/11. It was our fault, and that's what they're teaching our children. you know, we didn't do anything to justify them killing, thousands and thousands of people. They said it
no,
was because of a cartoon. No, it wasn't because of a cartoon.
no,
It was,
that was yeah, that was Benghazi when they tried to say that it was a YouTube video that caused
Mhm.
Benghazi, and then they got found out that they were a lie. Now let me tell you something. If you when you find out, see, that's enough for me. When you find out that your government lied to you straight up, looked you right in the face and lied and said, "Oh, it was this," when it really wasn't. You're like, I can never, ever, ever trust you again. Nothing. I will always think you're lying to me, and I will always go over and above. And you know what they call people who do that? Conspiracy theorists or domestic terrorists. Why? How many of you like getting lied to? I
I
don't.
don't like it. I do. But they say even Christians are domestic terrorists. If you're a Christian, you're a domestic terrorist underneath the rules of some of these administrative agencies. So that makes
Yeah,
us dangerous. Well, our Constitution was written with a biblical understanding, with our First Amendment, freedom of religion. That's why a lot of people came here. And, fine, a lot of them were not Christian. But that doesn't mean that they did not understand the basic concept of what was going on in the biblical household. The delegation of powers, and they were trying to get away from the king and so forth. They tried to make George Washington a king of the United States, and he said no. So we are the ones that are in charge of our government, and when we don't step up and say stop, then they're just going to keep chiseling away, chiseling away. We're not going to
that's
have
it.
anything.
Exactly, exactly. And it's just you don't have to be you do not have to be a Christian to have morals, common
Right.
sense and morals, to know to go and look in this school and look at these books that they've got in there and go, my gosh, I don't even, as an adult, and I'm married. I don't even have books like this in my, you know, in my house. And you're showing children, they wouldn't even allow mothers to finish reading stuff out
Right.
of those books because it was so bad. And it's like, you won't even let me finish reading it, but you are allowing the kids to check these books out.
Yeah. Well, then I
Why?
watched a woman at a school district meeting, a school board meeting, and she was reading out of one of the course materials for her second grader. And the school board is going, you need to stop. We have children in the audience that's entirely too graphic for them. And you're going, wait a minute. Those children are the same age as are assigned to read this. And then they turn off the mic and so forth for the mother because she continued reading. And, it's like it was too graphic for them. Okay, if it's too graphic for an adult, what do you think you're doing to a second grader?
Exactly, exactly. And see, they have an agenda. And if you have not seen that, so you're looking with this the 10th Amendment. There, it's all muddy. This is
Hmm.
all muddy, right? And this at this level and this, like, you know what? This is what I'm foreseeing. It was once said, and it was well known that they I think it was the Japanese that said you can never invade United States from the outside because there is a gun behind every blade of grass. However, the way to take down the United States is thin. And what you're seeing now, you're seeing they want to take this country down from within. And I'm going to say this right now, shame on you. Shame on you, to all of you that voted for a person that wanted, knowing that he wanted to dismantle this country. And look what your vote has gotten you. Look at it. Look at it.
10 million
Are
people
we
in
any
this
better?
country.
No.
Yeah, 10 million people in just the past year crossing our borders, and most of them are just disappearing. They can't find them anymore. They're not vetted before they
Exactly.
come in. They found in 1 week there was over 150 people on our terror watch list that came across our southern border. And we don't know. They're coming from all countries. They're coming from the Middle East, and they're coming up through Mexico, or they're coming down from Canada. Canada right now is trying to tell you, don't come into the United States through our borders this time of year because you're going to freeze to death, probably. There's a lot of
Yeah.
different things going on. So we've got to take control of our government once again and, put it back the way it was.
Um,
It should be of the people, by the people, and for the people.
and for
And,
people.
there's a
That
great
way
big
we
wall
get
between,
in.
yeah, we got a great big wall between the things that were given to us in our Constitution and what our legislature people are doing. So, we've got to break that wall. Take that wall and put it at the southern
Exactly.
border, okay?
Yes, exactly. And remember too, a lot of these rights that they have brought up here, these are your God-given rights. They
Right,
belong to you. They're inalienable rights. They can't take them from you. They're yours. They're given to you as a human being. God's given rights to you. And you need to learn these. So you need to hang on to them and know, hey, somebody is violating my rights here. And you can
right.
exercise them. You have that right to do so. This is why I'm saying, this is why I'm saying do not think it's a good thing when they go, oh, we're not going to teach the minorities anymore reading and writing and everything. We're not going to teach you. Isn't that great? Because we care about you and we know that it's hard for you. And it's like, do you see how they just insulted you? If that is not a racist thing to say to somebody, I don't know. Don't you let your kids, and don't for yourself, don't go without learning how to read and write and do math and stuff. Because you know what? You know what frightens them the most? Knowledge. Knowledge is power. Knowledge
That's
is
right.
power, and that's what will keep you above water. Everything in this country. The more that you read, the more that you know, and you can see what somebody's trying to say to you. That it could be a lie, but if you don't know how to read or see for yourself, you're gonna just believe them. You're gonna believe. You're gonna be at the hands of anybody to tell you anything, and you're gonna believe it because you don't know what it says. Don't
Yeah.
do that to
Well,
yourself. Don't do that to
whenever
yourself.
all that quarantine stuff came down with COVID, there was a gentleman in one state, and it was probably Kentucky or Tennessee. I don't remember. Anyway, he refused to do that. He refused to mask up. He refused to go out, stay inside his house, and so forth. And our rights are so degraded right now that they decided instead they were going to. They put him in his house. They locked him in his house and left him there. And they put cops outside his door to make sure he couldn't leave. Things like this are not right in our nation, and we need to figure that out. But we are way past our time. So, anyway, thank you for joining me, Cindy, and we will talk with you again later. Well, actually, I'll talk to you on Wednesday.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you all for watching, and we'll see you later. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.